Good morning, happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Rock Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Donald and welcoming back Rob. Good to see you back. And sorry you did have to take the time away for the reasons that you did, but that's neither here nor there. The other part of it that did not show up was this Yankee fucking offense. Where'd the bats go? Can we please get them back? You cannot get swept by the Reds. As much as they are looking like a very complete team this year, Donald and I were talking about it on Wednesday, how they've had a hot start. They fizzled off a little bit, and it seems like we just let them get right back on track in the National League. And the other part of it was something that Kay said on the show, on the broadcast. Since interleague play, the Yankees have never been swept by a National League team till this week. How fucking pathetic can you be? It's not even like you're talking about, a team coming off a World Series win that's just rolling. These are not world beaters. And it just seems like this offense and the pitching altogether, the pitching goes well. Pitching was no different than the offense. It's just nobody showed up. It's like they would just want to just get through it. Like they had no interest in playing. They are lifeless. They're pathetic. You cannot get swept by the fucking Reds. Donald, how you doing, bro?
Both speechless at this point. It's a freaking disgrace. Yeah. But I'll tell you what's worse was Aaron Boone's attitude to Grisham not fielding the ball properly. Whatever the score is, Grisham... his attitude where he just strolled over to the ball, half-assed it, and then fumbled it, half-assed it to allow the runner to get to the scoring position. Aaron Boone defended it. He defended that. And I quote, Aaron Boone said, "Would I want him to square up to the ball like me and you and get that ball in? Nah, not really. Are you fucking kidding me? This is a professional fucking baseball team. This is a professional sport. You got players half-assing it. Why wouldn't you want him to square up to the ball? Why would you not want him to square up to the ball? To square up to the ball means you can get that ball in." But Aaron Boone's like, no, not really. I don't really care. That's basically what he told us. I don't really care. That's an embarrassment. Aaron Boone embarrassed the organization more than Grisham did. What is he afraid of? That's my question with Aaron Boone. What is he afraid of? Why is he so petrified to call people out in public? Why is he so petrified? Are you afraid to lose the locker room over a fourth outfielder? Because that's what Grisham is. Are you afraid to lose the locker room over a fourth outfielder? That you can't even call shit for shit, a spade for a spade? Because that's half-assing it, right? Now, it made no difference to the game. It made no difference to the inning, right? But that's just a microcosm of the issues here. You got guys half-assing it, and Aaron Boone's like, I don't really care. That's what he said. You didn't care that he didn't square up to the ball. So he didn't care that your center fielder didn't even put an effort in. That's what he said. That's what he said. And what is he afraid to lose the locker room over that? So he has to defend him. Now, Gleyber Torres, he falls over hand over fist to defend that guy. Right? Hand over fist. Defending him. But he is a beloved member of the locker room for whatever reason. But he is, right? So maybe he wants to tread carefully with Gleyber Torres because Gleyber Torres is incredibly sensitive. But come on, Grisham, he's your fourth outfielder. Eminently replaceable. Eminently benchable. So what is it that you're afraid of? And what you're doing is risking a far bigger thing. You're risking telling the rest of the squad that half-ass play is okay. Right? You've now told the entire fan base and you've told the Yankee organization, that's okay. That's fine with me. No problemos here. That's what you're telling us. right? That's why you need to call shit for shit occasionally. Now, I'm not saying that I need him to go publicly and call him this, that, or the other, but you just say simply, that's the play he has to make. This is the Yankees. This is you're playing in front of a packed house, 50,000 people, hard-earned money, spending their 4th of July, Independence Day, America's birthday, watching us play. I don't care what the score is. You make that effort. You make that play. That resonates to the locker room. That resonates to your fan base. He doesn't care. And I'm embarrassed by that. And he should be too. And so should Grisham.
Rob, welcome back. Let's give you the floor and let you just do your thing and tear him a new ass.
Where do we begin? They don't hit, they don't pitch, they can't field. The manager doesn't seem to care. So why should we? But we're diehards and we do care. Maybe more than we should, more than they do. This is bad baseball. Simple as that. And I refuse to believe that this is going to be what they are the rest of the season. But over the last month now, they have been arguably the worst team in the game. And that's saying something. And Oakland's had some wins. Colorado's been pulling some wins out of their ass. Even the Angels went on a bit of a streak, I believe. So this is a bad team right now. They have key veterans that are not producing. Gleyber Torres, Verdugo's been lost up until I think yesterday or the day before. He had a couple of doubles, whatever. Volpe is either hot or he's ice cold. And right now he's ice cold. You got 2 generational players that nobody wants to pitch to for obvious reasons. So you got Juan Soto who's hitting like 1 something, but has a 400 on base because why would you pitch to him? Because you don't have to. And this is what you get. You're relying on Trevino to play almost every day. Jahmai Jones, who's actually been hitting, but yet he hits and then gets benched. I don't get what the Yankees do when it comes to lineup construction because 2 nights ago, Ben Rice hits that big RBI double, 2-run double, and then gets benched the next day in favor of J.D. Davis. But the next day, you pinch hit for Dave. Like you bring in Davis as a pinch hitter, and what does he do? He strikes out. Of course he does. So this is what we're left with. It's just scraps. And you have 3 players that are producing, Judge, Soto, and Rice. And then you have a lineup of 6 other guys that are just not doing anything. And then you can blame the offense all you want, but the pitching's been terrible. Stroman didn't look good yesterday. He got tagged for 5 runs or 4 runs. The bullpen, they're relying on too many projects. It's one thing to have 1 or maybe 2 project pitchers that you can hope to turn around, but their entire bullpen is made up of project guys now. Jake Cousins, Tim Hill. I know Tonkin's been fantastic, but how much longer is that going to last? I'm questioning that because now they're going to start using him in high leverage situations. Ferguson's still here for some reason. So this is what we're stuck with. It's a bad team right now. Over the past calendar month, they have been a bad team. And I'm hoping that at least by the second half, they can turn it around. But something has to be said and something has to be asked why this is happening every year. When they get to this part of the season, they just completely fizzle out. It affected us 2 years ago to where we almost blew the division. Last year, it completely took us out of the playoff race, essentially. And this year, it helped us lose first place. Now we're down by 2 games, I think. And the Red Sox are right on their ass now. They've caught fire. And guess who's coming to town tonight? The boiling hot Red Sox who kicked our ass last time. So this could get very, very bad if the Yankees let it get very bad. Because that's what we're stuck with. We're stuck with a 9-man lineup that has more than half of it struggling. You have a rotation that has Cole, who just came back. Luis Heel is tiring out. He's forgetting how to pitch. Rodon is throwing fits. If he's not getting lit up for 8 runs, he's throwing a fit on the mound, which I kind of understand this time around why he wanted to stay in. But it wasn't like he was blowing their socks off out there. Stroman's getting $18.5 million. He's giving up 3-run bombs left and right. What do you have right now? There's nobody in the minors that can come save this because everybody's hurt. So even if you called up Jack Neely, how much of an impact is he really going to make for a bullpen that is really bad right now? So they're 14-16 in June and July, but it feels a lot worse, doesn't it? Because of the way they're losing some of these games.
Yeah.
So thank you for that stat, Li. It's tough to watch them because we know this team is better. But until some of these guys step up, like Verdugo and Torres and LeMahieu specifically, those three have to step up if they're going to keep playing. If they don't step up, nothing is going to change with Judge and Soto. They're not going to pitch them. Aaron Judge is about to have another 60 home run season or close to it, and it might get wasted. Juan Soto is an all-star, and he's putting up an MVP. He was at least until this little bit of a cold stretch, and they might waste it if they don't act fast. But what is going to help this team right now? You call up Neely. Okay, you get Efros back. That might help. Brubaker would certainly help. A returning John Birdie could help. Stanton, hopefully the next few weeks could help. But it's every year these guys get hurt, and then we're relying on injured players to come back and save this team, and it never works. So something has to be done about this June swoon into July, this midseason funk they go in every single year. And where is Brian Cashman?
3 years in a row.
3 years in a row. Where is Brian Cashman? This would be the time to ask him some questions, but then he's not going to give you a great answer. And Aaron Boone, I'm used to this crap at this point.
Yep.
So I don't expect anything less of him. I don't expect him to say anything differently than he hasn't already said before. Wasn't surprised at his comments at all. It's just bad baseball right now, and all we can do is
by it, but I'm disappointed by it because it's it's a disgrace.
Obviously, because it reminds me of the Aaron Hicks play from last year or was 2 years ago, where he gave up on the play, and you just hope that it turns around fast. But we keep saying this now for over 30 days. We've been saying, you hope it turns around. You hope it turns around. But we haven't won a series since Kansas City. So we're going on a full month
series without a win.
And we just got swept. And the first 3-game sweep of the season. No, that couldn't have been the first time we got swept in interleague play because the Mets swept us.
No, in a 3-game set.
Okay, a 3-game set. So it's our first.
Yeah, no, they didn't count. No, not the 2-game set. I thought the same thing at first.
Yeah, but either way, it's not good. It's not a good look to get swept by a team that's below 500. They came in and kicked our ass, and they even beat us in a stare down, which I wasn't surprised that we lost that pregame stare down. I didn't even know what happened at the end. I just saw it, and I'm like, I guarantee they lost that. And sure enough, they lost the pregame stare down. So welcome to the Yankee baseball in June, July. It's bad.
They're 5-14. Lost 14 and 19 games.
It's unacceptable.
But it's annual. It happens every year. The Yankees always start hot, and then they get a little comfortable. Then they get a little lackadaisical, and then it spirals, and they don't know how to stop it. And it's been going on for years. It's been going on for years, and that's why it's more than a slump. The first week of it is a slump, but this is now a problem. It's now a problem because I don't think Aaron Boone knows how to arrest this decline. Once effort plays start coming into it, that's when we have a problem. We can live with underperforming players because it's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so people are going to slump. But if effort plays aren't being made, that speaks to a bigger issue. That's why I'm pissed off at the start. That's why I went on that rant at the start, because what you're communicating to your fans and to the organization is that that's okay. All he has to do is communicate that that's not okay, and you stop it right there and then. But he doesn't. He just lets it spiral. And that's why for the last, I think it's even been more than 3 years, it's been going on since the COVID season. Every single year, round about this point, we go on a spectacular collapse, and we don't know how to fix it.
No, it's... And this is why Boone gets the hate that he does. You know, Rob talked about it briefly. You know, and you lose game 1 of the series, and then you're looking for the lineup the next day, and you're going, is this guy fucking serious? Is he even trying to put together a winning lineup? Because it didn't look that way. What, Rice needed an off day? He's a kid. Let him play every day. You're not giving Volpe any real time off, and you were just coming off an off day before the series. So how much fucking rest do they need? Put the kid on in the lineup. Play him every day. You're ahead in the game where if you're blowing out a team or a team's blowing you out, then you do a late inning adjustment just to get him off his feet for a while. All right, the game's in hand either way. I'm gonna take Rice. I'm gonna give Rice a little time, or I'm gonna give Volpe a little time off. I'm gonna make let me put Grisham in the outfield now and get Soto off his feet, because then you have our captain going, I need to do more. What more can you do, Aaron Judge? What more can you do? Because there's nobody behind you that's going to give them any reason to pitch to you. So you're not going to get the at-bats that you should be getting, because we saw after the first game, they took the bat out of his hand. They weren't giving him anything legit to hit, because the last two games of the series, he did not record a hit. Because why? You're going to pitch Aaron Judge because you're afraid of J.D. Davis in the 4-hole in Game 2? Well, that's really gonna that's gonna have the pitcher shaking in their fucking boots. Come on, it's bullshit.
Goes even further too, because he sat Austin Wells, and Wells has been, dare I say, hot over his last few weeks. He had like an 800 something OPS over his last 15, and he sat him for Trevino when Ellie De La Cruz is on the other team. The guy might steal 100 bases if he wants to this year. You put your worst possible catcher back there, and Trevino can't hit anymore either. At least Austin Wells has been squaring up. He had a home run yesterday. He's been starting to show that pop but no, you got to play Trevino. You got to have Trevino play. You got to have J.D. Davis get at bats. Why is Ben Rice not playing every day?
Yeah.
Austin Wells should be playing at least 3 out of every 5, because you're not going to play a catcher 5 games in a row. I get that, but Wells should be playing more than Trevino. He caught Cole the other day, and Cole had his best start. I don't think it was a coincidence. I don't think Cole needs to have a preferred catcher anymore, because it's changing every year. One year it's Higgy, then it's Trevino. Now it's probably end up being Wells. So enough of this personal catcher stuff. Rodon usually works well with Austin Wells, but they had Trevino catch him anyway. Why are we just not playing our best possible lineup every day? Because you're not going to get much of anything from J.D. Davis. I'm sorry.
Right.
He is what he is. He's a decent bat, but you're not going to put him out there to replace Giancarlo Stanton, nor should you. That's not fair to him, and it's not a way to go about business. Ben Rice needs to play every day, because you need to figure out if he's the first baseman going into next year. I don't want to put that on him. I heard a little bit of the conversation the other day. You asked if he's untouchable. I don't think you put that label on him yet, because let's not forget how good Greg Bird was when he first came up. Greg Bird was lighting it up in 2015 before he got riddled with injuries. So I don't want to put that label on the kid, but you also need to figure out if he's the answer next year, or else you're going to have to either bring back Rizzo or go get another first baseman. You have to figure that out, but you're not going to learn anything if you platoon him. Oh, he can't hit lefties. Why can't he? He was actually hitting lefties a lot better this year in AA and AAA. He improved on that number. He struggled with it before, but this past year he's been a lot better against lefties. But the Yankees feel like, nah, J.D. Davis. Austin Wells apparently can't hit lefties, but Jose Trevino can't hit anything, but they put him in the lineup every day. So what are we doing here? And poor Jahmai Jones, he's actually had 4 hits in his last 2 games, and he gets sat for it. Like, at least he's hitting. Put him out there. Ride the hot hand, but the Yankees don't believe in that. And that's something that we've been talking about for years on this channel, is they don't believe in hot streaks. They'll play a player if he's cold, but not sit him. And if the guy's red hot, they're going to give him a day off because of a lefty. Why? Just play Rice every day. Play Wells as much as you possibly can and learn about your future while still trying to maintain success in the present, because this is still a very good team, in my opinion. And I still believe they have a very good chance to go all the way, because I don't think this is going to last another 3 months, but they got to act like they give a shit. for me to believe that. Because the other day I saw that lineup and I'm like, it's hard to take this team seriously if they don't even take it seriously. Why is J.D. Davis going from Oakland Athletics DFA to the cleanup hitter? Jahmai Jones was let go by the Brewers and now he's batting like twice, 3 times a week. What is this? Trent Grisham should not be playing every day. He shouldn't. He's a 4th outfielder, and yet they don't use that DH spot to get Torres off the field when you could put your best possible defense out there. These things are so mind-boggling, and it's just annoying to look at because I know they can break out of this sooner than later if they just made a couple of changes, but they don't want to get out of their own way. This is their biggest issue. When things start to go south, they revert back to their old ways. When they're winning, they look unstoppable. That's the Yankees. When they're winning, they look like the best team you've ever seen. We're like, oh my God, this is 98. This is 09. But then when they lose, they look at the worst team in baseball. There's no middle ground with them. It's either they're really fucking good or really fucking bad. And in order to be a really good team, you got to, when you go through those slumps, you got to kind of be in between. The Dodgers, when they were losing, they were still, no one was saying, oh, they might be a bust. But they finally caught fire. And they're about to be 20 games over 500. But they weren't really kicking teams' asses the way that we were. But here we are. Once again, it's June going into July, about to head to the All-Star break. And where are the Yankees? Plummeting. Every single year, it's the same crap.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's easy to sit here, and obviously we've done it for a while now with the way they've been playing. And we're like, just tread water. And, because Baltimore, despite of how bad we're playing, they're only 2 games ahead of us. Baltimore is and Boston is still 7.5 behind us. So we are in that middle ground where these next couple of weeks are going to determine which direction the Yankees are going. They need to win this series against Boston. That goes without saying. But do they have the ability to win the series? I don't think they do. I really don't. I don't see anything going on with this club right now that makes you think that they're coming out of it anytime soon. This is going to get a lot uglier before it looks better.
Well, here's the issue, though. I don't know how it's going to get better because essentially we have 2 people in the lineup. That's the hard facts. You can butter it up and try every single combo, but we have Soto and Judge. Outside of that, it's a massive question mark. Are there things that Boone should have done, like not immediately pigeonhole Ben Rice into a platoon guy for no reason? Yeah. Like that's not acceptable, right? But there's things that have been really odd, and a lot of it is just like they don't hold the same people accountable, and they just kind of they've given Anthony Volpe basically free reign, right? He's been having free reign at the leadoff spot, and his numbers have been horrendous. And honestly, I think we as a podcast should maybe take. I mean, I think we've given him too much of a break because his defense has been so good, but under the radar, he has low-key been horrible for a long, long time, and he had to get moved down. We don't have a leadoff hitter, right? That's a fact. We don't have a cleanup hitter. That's a fact, right? So you can butter it up and try every single combo in the entire universe, but we don't have those things. And without those things, we're in big trouble. And that's what we're having. That's what the situation is now because there's too much pressure on Soto and Judge. They have to come through every single at bat. And guess what? Soto's on base basically, no, not even basically, officially 50% of the time. He leads baseball in OBP, basically just around 500 OBP. Insane, right? He's on base all the time. They set the table for Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is hitting home runs at a meteoric rate. No one's ever done it before like this, right? But outside of him, who you put in there, right? Now, Ben Rice should play every day, but let's not pretend he's Jason Giambi yet. So, and then our catcher situation, I mean, we have one catcher that literally can't throw to second base. He literally cannot throw to second base. That is a massive problem. And the problem is the Yankees are obsessed with him. Trevino. The Yankees are obsessed with Jose Trevino. And one thing what the Yankees do is if they're obsessed with someone, they put their blinders up and they ignore everything else. Right? And that's what they're doing with Trevino. Trevino has fucked the season since that game against Boston. Without 9 stolen bases, now every team's like, holy shit, it's open season on this guy, right? It was like the Red Sox opened the floodgates, right? Thanks, Alex Cora, right? And now, and what it was, Aaron Boone was asked about it. Oh, will this be a problem? No, not at all. It's going to be fine. That's what he said. Has it been fine? No, because it's been open season ever since on Trevino. Now that everyone pays attention to the scouting report, people are stealing bases for fun on this guy. What's changed? The Yankees still play Jose Trevino 80% of the time, right? Even though Austin Wells is on a semi-hot streak, you'll never guess because he only plays once every 7 or 8 days, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like they hold different people accountable, and they're not really paying attention to the hot streaks, and they have their blinders up. I know that Trevino is in the 100th percentile in pitch framing, but I could give a fuck about pitch framing if he can't throw, right? And he can't hit either. He's been in an insane slump. Insane slump. But it doesn't seem to matter to the Yankees, right? Now, it wouldn't matter if the other 8 guys can hit. But they don't, right? So you have to pay attention to these little things. And I've been screaming about the margins because I was seeing some signs, even through our win streak, that would really hurt us once we get into some really tough games down the stretch. We've not even reached the stretch point. We've reached June. And these problems, when I was screaming about the margins, when I was screaming about the infield, when I was screaming about the lack of accountability, the weird lineups, and I was screaming about all this shit, and I was screaming about Trevino, it's all come home to roost because it's a mess. But I'm really pissed at Aaron Boone because I'm let down by him, right? Because I've given him such a break all year. In fact, I gave him a break 2 days ago. I actually put a tweet out saying, you know what? We can blame all we want, but there's 2 men in this lineup. This bullpen's horrible. We literally got the worst lefty in baseball. We're lefty reliever in baseball in Caleb Ferguson. He literally is. There's not even a question. He is, right? So, and the rest are a bunch of journeymen that takes you to Clay Holmes, right? That's impossible to manage. So I don't give him. I can't blame him for his pitching moves, his bullpen moves, because he's up against it, right? You're up against a rock and a hard place. You know, if Rodon is getting blown out, what do? Do you keep him going because at least you know that he's going to fight out there, or you're going to take a risk and put in Tim Hill, right? So that's I can't blame him for that, right? So what I can blame him for is excusing the lack of effort, and he does that too often. That is what I'm pissed at. That's what I'm let down about, because I can't really blame him for this. In fact, really, you could say he's actually potentially done a pretty good job until yesterday when he really, really pissed me off. And that's what I'll always do. I will always call out something that I see as bullshit. And what he said after the Grisham stuff is bullshit. I know it's a small thing because it didn't affect the inning. It didn't affect the game, but it does affect your mentality in the locker room. That kind of stuff does. Absolutely does. So that's what I'm let down about. And I'm let down about the fact that I defended this guy, and he seemed to defend a lack of effort yesterday, and I hate that. I really do. But really, overall, can we blame Aaron Boone? I can't. I think he's actually done a pretty good job. Overall, really, looking at this roster. The roster is a mess outside the 2 guys.
Yeah, and it goes to, we had said, that was one of the agree or disagree the other day, and Eli's pointing it out. Aaron Boone, he's great when he's got the new car, but he can't fix it when something goes wrong. Because I had asked, I'm like, is his worst quality getting a team out of its slump? And that was the debate that we had. It was a fun one. And I don't think that's his weakest, point of a manager. We all agreed that it's his ability to put a lineup together, a consistent lineup. Is probably his biggest flaw. because we saw as soon as and then it was justified as soon as we saw the lineup in game 2. Like, this guy ain't trying to win. He's just trying to he's just trying to get through the day. It's just another day on the calendar. It's still the middle of the season. It's still no. These losses still fucking count.
Facts.
How many times do we get to September and now we're going backtracking, trying to figure out how come we're not leading the division? Well, it's stretches like this that cause that. Because there's no urgency in this fucking organization.
Yeah. That's true.
From the GM all the way down to the players. He couldn't even, on GM, the owner had to, from his vacation in Italy, had to seal the deal on Judge because Cashman couldn't do it. But let's pick up all these DFA guys, and scrap heap, and let's see if we can make a miracle out of it.
You're kind of stuck with that, though. That's the only thing you really can do because there's nobody out there. Again, look at the playoff picture. Who's realistically selling outside of the Marlins and maybe the Angels?
I don't know if the Rockets made that in the last podcast.
Right, I brought that up several times in the past few weeks. Is that you really can't rely on the trade market right now because everybody and their mother is going to want Tanner Scott. He's the most realistic improvement you can make. Outside of him, I don't know if there's another immediate impact bullpen arm that's out there. So if the Yankees are going to make a trade, it's going to end up being, and Sean, the White Sox, yeah, but outside of Crochet, who's a starter right now, Kopech would maybe help, but he's not necessarily putting up fantastic numbers. You hope that Blake could fix him, but you're going to get another potential project player. The Yankees are going to acquire somebody that nobody sees coming. He's probably going to have an ERA somewhere in the 4 to 5, 6 area maybe, and he's going to have some high strikeout numbers, and the Yankees are going to try to fix him because there's really nobody out there that is like going to make an immediate impact the way Tanner Scott would. Tanner Scott would be a huge addition. He's the guy that you would have to go get, but everybody else is going to try to get him. Rental pitcher on a rebuilding team, he's available. The Yankees are going to have to be creative, and that's something that Brian Cashman isn't necessarily good at. Now, I still think the Caleb Ferguson trade at the time was a fine trade because we gave up nothing, and Ferguson had good numbers, and we needed a lefty. Unfortunately, it hasn't turned out that way. He's been terrible. Why is he still here? At this point, it is July. His ERA, as Donald noted, is almost 6. It dropped a little bit yesterday because he finally had a clean inning. Why is he still here? Victor Gonzalez just fell back into your lap because nobody claimed him. Maybe that gives him a new sense of life. I don't know. But give him – why not? He wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad. Caleb Ferguson ain't doing anything that warrants him still being on this team. You could replace half of this bullpen right now if you really wanted to. And I don't think anybody would miss Jake Cousins or Tim Hill or Caleb Ferguson.
No.
Even the guy whose name I can't pronounce, Josh M. I'm just going to call him M. You can replace those guys, and I don't think anyone's going to miss them. But unfortunately, one of the guys that would make an impact is Clayton Beeter. He's still hurt. Neely should be here. I don't know what they're waiting for, but there's really nobody else that would fit as an immediate improvement because they would all be the Phil Bickford type. It'd be Dwayne Underwood or another Marinaccio shot, which we've already seen Marinaccio either look good or he looks bad. I don't know what you do with him. So you're kind of stuck with what we have. And Li, you're right. Who's available at third base? The Rockies don't want to trade Ryan McMahon. He'd be the best option. Rengifo has been brought up several times. Now reporters are starting to bring up his name. Hopefully they can pull the trigger on a trade like that. But again, it's very, very slim pickings. So either make a move now before everybody else tries to do it, or rely on the farm system that you've been hyping up so much, that we've been hyping up so much. I've been doing it. Dane Huber's been doing it. We love this farm system, and maybe it's about time we give somebody like Yorbit Bibas a shot, who's been playing very well as of late. Maybe it's time we give Jack Neely a shot, who's very good. And you're right, Joan, Gomez has not been given a fair shot. So, and Renhefos hurts. Even the guys they can try to go get hurt. Like, what do you think's going to happen when he gets here? He's probably going to crack his leg or something. This is what happens every time the Yankees get a player. Realistically, there's no game changers out there. So either get creative or call up some of these kids. But if you continue to trot the same nonsense out there every single day, these are the results you're going to get until that group of Verdugo, LeMahieu, and Torres, and yes, Anthony Volpe as well, until 3 of those 4 or even 2 of those 4 start to get on a hot streak, you're going to see this crap because they're not going to pitch to Soto and Judge. And you don't move Soto to the cleanup spot because it gives him less at-bats. Maybe you switch Judge and Soto around. That's it. That's the only change I'd make. Flip them 2-3. Because if you're going to put lefty, righty, lefty, then go Verdugo, Judge, Soto, or Rice, Judge, Soto. Maybe you try that out. But there really isn't much they can do. Besides, like NFE just said, maybe you can convince the Rockies to trade McMahon. If you blow them away with a trade offer that they simply cannot refuse, Ryan McMahon would be a game changer. But that's about it. And I don't see that happening.
So I want to go back to the management for a minute, and I'll tie into what Rob's point is. So 2 things can be true, right, on a couple of statements. 2 things can be true in regards to Brian Cashman. Cashman actually had a really good offseason. A great offseason. An A- offseason, right? Because if you look at it, a lot of his moves worked. Almost all of them worked, apart from Caleb Ferguson and Gonzalez. But the rest of it worked. Verdugo was an excellent pickup. Really smart. Juan Soto's one of the best trades of all time, right? Absolute steal, right? Doesn't get any better than that. So you have to call it a spade. That is a fantastic offseason, okay? But the Caleb Ferguson didn't work. However, as Rob's point, I supported the trade at the time. I thought, this is a steal, right? This guy's had great numbers all year long. I've looked at his career. He's never had a career like this, a horrible season like this before. His career's been pretty good up to this point. He's had a horrible year, right? I don't know. I can't blame Cashman for that. But, so he's had a really good offseason. But 2 things can be true. It's still a really flawed, top-heavy roster, right? That's true as well. He's not done a good job having a built roster, a whole picture of a roster. He's not done a good job with that. But that's something that can't be fixed in one offseason. And another thing that can be true is this isn't the time to be doing a half-ass rebuild, right? The trade deadline is not when you do a rebuild. You do a rebuild, rebuild's the wrong word, a retool of a roster. A retool of a roster needs to be done in the offseason. That's when you can get value. That's when you can get guys on good value. You're not going to get a good value now because, as Tats has pointed out, Rob's pointed out, with the increased wild card, there's more teams competing and there's less teams tanking. And there's only a couple of teams, there's only a handful of teams in the majors now that are completely out of it now, right? Most of them are within 3-4 games of a wild card spot, right? Including the Cincinnati Reds, right? So it goes right down. That's why the Yankees are hard pressed to get the moves they need to get done. They need a really good third baseman. They need an excellent third baseman. If you're going to allow Gleyber Torres to soil himself at second, you need a really good third baseman, right? And I don't know which third baseman is going to be available, but that you can acquire that's going to be not going to cost us an arm and a leg. Because it always happens every year when the Yankees have a desperate need, they'll go to a team, right, we need this guy. Right, well, it'll cost you an arm and a leg and your firstborn sons, right? And Cashman's never going to allow that to happen. So we're up against it. So those things can all be true, right? So I'm genuinely not sure what could be done by the trade deadline, but a lot of things have to be done, right? Another thing can be true. Aaron Boone's had a good season, right? He has had a good season. However, is he a manager that's going to win you a World Series? At the moment, I would say no, because the evidence suggests in his previous playoff managerial performances, they've all been pretty bad. Because for the same reasons, he doesn't hold people accountable, and he doesn't pay attention to the finite details, such as Alex Cora having 9 stolen bases on Trevino, and him just kind of sitting there and allowing it. That all could have been stopped, but he doesn't stop it. And that's how things spiral, and that's how things snowball, and that's how things get worse. And Aaron Boone is just far too laid back for that shit, right? So 2 things can be true. He's had a good year, yes, but is he a great manager? No. So that's why it's really hard to evaluate this team. That's what's really hard about to evaluate this team, and that's why I'm kind of 50-50 on a bunch of things. I think Cashman's done a great job this offseason, but it's not a great roster. However, he's got an excellent farm system. Aaron Boone has done a good job this year, but is he a good manager? I think he's an okay manager.
It's mediocre.
But not a great one. And we need a great one. So that's where we're at. Do you guys agree?
No, I do agree. I think that there are issues in the leadership roles of everything. You know, the only real leader that we have guiding this team along is the captain. You know, because he's the only one that would balls to call people out on their shit. You know, he's even calling himself out for having a rough series, saying, I need to do more. You know, not like, hey, I've been carrying this team all along. Let somebody else take the mantle. No, he's like, no, it's on me. I'm to blame. Like, that's a leader. He holds himself accountable.
True.
You know, and he's not going to try to sugarcoat it. You know, and even though there's, like we've been saying, there's nobody behind him in the lineup that's going to have a pitcher nervous to play, you know, to give him anything, that this is what we're going to have to deal with until some of these guys start snapping the hell out of it. Now, Torres, his at-bats are looking better. You know, Verdugo had a couple of good at-bats where you're like, all right, you can see he's on the cusp of something, but he's still got a ways to go before he convinces me that he's back. You know, LeMahieu, he's still in spring training mode. You know, so it's – go ahead, Rob. Let's go ahead.
I'm sick of the excuses for DJ LeMahieu at this point.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I get it. He didn't have a full spring, but we're about to hit the 100 at bat mark for him now. We're past this. He has to have a spring training. It's fucking July. Dude, you're a multiple time batting champion. You got a 484 OPS, I think it is now, because he was used as a pinch hitter yesterday. And what did he do? Jack shit. He had 2 good games against the Blue Jays, and everyone's like, oh, see, you shouldn't have doubted him. Why? He had 2 good games. I expect him to do that. The dude can't hit. L.I., you were right. I say it again to you, my man. You were right about him. And I hate that you were right about him because I want DJ to be good. I like DJ LeMahieu. I still will not backtrack what I said years ago when I said bring him back because he was fantastic. But he looks like complete shit. The only hope that we have is that his second half is what it was last year. But I have not seen signs of that because he is barely driving the ball. Had a couple of line drives, a couple of fly outs, but nothing that tells me this dude is about to break out the way he did last year. I hope I am wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But right now, what are we seeing from DJ LeMahieu? What has he done the last couple of years to warrant this? Well, we got to give him time. He's in spring training mode. You use that excuse for Aaron Judge because Aaron Judge is a godly player, and you use that excuse for him because we know when he gets hot, he doesn't stop. And we're seeing that. He's about to go on another 62 home run season, or at least very, very close to it. Triple Crown candidate again. MVP candidate again. Would be his third, should be his third, because he was robbed of one. That is a Hall of Fame player. Donald, you brought it up the other day, I think. His numbers are similar to what a guy, Bryce Harper, had as an MVP season in 2021. Those were his Judge is putting up right fucking now on July 5th. Those are his numbers. You use that excuse for Aaron Judge. You use that excuse for Juan Soto, not for DJ LeMahieu right now. The dude's not hitting. His defense hasn't been necessarily great. And he's about to be, thank you, Anthony, he's about to be 36. How much longer can we put up with this? Well, he needs a spring training. He's been hurt every year. It's the same injury, too. He keeps injuring his foot. How much more pain can he put on that foot? I don't know if the turnaround's coming. So you need him to break out of it, but we're not seeing those signs. So I'm looking at Glaber, I'm looking at Verdugo, and I'm looking at Volpe. We need those guys to turn around. Because then, if those 3 guys are hitting, along with Ben Rice, now you have to pitch to Judge. Now you have to pitch to Soto. Case in point yesterday, you know when the time to pitch to Juan Soto is? His first at-bat, and when the game's out of reach. What happened yesterday? His first at bat, he got robbed of an extra base hit, and when
Home
the
run,
game was out
actually.
of reach, he had a home run. Yeah, and then his last at bat, he had a home run. That's when you pitch to Juan Soto, either when it's the game's just starting and you have no choice, or the game's out of reach. That's when you pitch to Juan Soto. It's like, who gives a shit at that point? We're up 8-2. What's it going to matter? Juan Soto hits a home run. You don't pitch to him any other scenario. If the game is a 3-2 game and Soto's up, don't give him anything to hit. Same thing with Aaron Judge. You take your chances with Verdugo, with Torres, with LeMahieu, with Trevino, with Grisham, Jahmai Jones, whoever. Take your choice. Pick a number that is not Soto and Judge, and you can take your chances with them. We're looking at 4 guys that need to pick it up if they want Aaron Judge and Soto to actually start hitting the ball again the way they should be, because teams are not going to pitch to them. So any of these struggles that people want to point out about Juan Soto, I don't blame him for them, because you try hitting when everyone's just throwing in the dirt. He's got a 400 on base despite hitting 1 something, because they don't want to pitch to him. Why would you want to pitch to Juan Soto right now? Why would you want to pitch to Aaron Judge right now when you can just be like, I would rather have nobody on or nobody out, Judge and Soto on base, and pitch to Verdugo? So I can get Verdugo, he'll probably ground out, and then I can strike Torres out, or I can get LeMahieu to hit a dribbler. That's what the Yankee lineup is. So
And
until
if it's JD
those
Davis,
guys,
forget about
JD
it.
Davis, yeah. Until those guys start to hit, there's nobody that's coming in here and saving this right now. We miss Giancarlo.
Well, that was my
Stanton.
point, man. I mean, yeah, DJ LeMahieu fucking sucks. He's gone. All he can do is give you great defense at all 3 positions, which he does, but he can't hit. He's done. He's absolutely toast. But what are the options? You're going to play Oswaldo Cabrera? Oswaldo Cabrera can't hit either, guys. You've given him an extended time, and he's reverted back to the mean. He is what he is. He's no more than a bench player, right? What other options do we have? Jahmai Jones? I don't want to play Jahmai Jones. So what are the options? Gleyber Torres sucks too, right? I mean, we've got Ben Rice. He's really good, but he's not Jason Giambi. And who's his backup? JD Davis fucking sucks. The A's cut him. So what are we going to do? That's the problem. The infield is fucked.
I'm not putting Rice in the Giambi category yet. Not even the Shara category. But at least Rice is giving you something to actually watch the game for. You know, if you're not looking for, like, I'm looking forward to watching the at bats from, you know, Soto, Judge, and now Ben Rice is in that because at least he's putting the effort in, like he gives a shit. You know, he wants to force their hand that when Rizzo's healthy, that they don't want to move this kid. That's what I'm asking from Ben Rice. I'm not asking him to be a Jason Giambi. Be Ben Rice. Make the Yankees have make the decision tough when Rizzo is healthy. That they're going to have to really evaluate what they want to do. Do they want to damage this kid and put him back down, or do they want to just run it out and just say, "All right, Rizzo, you're not an everyday player anymore." That's what I'm asking. That's all I'm asking from Ben Rice, and you're seeing it because
You're spot on with that. I'm not asking him to be Jason Giambi either. I'm just saying, like, we can't put too much pressure on the kid because he's only had a handful of at bats, but they've been very, very good, very good. And Li, yeah, man, I don't know about Wyatt Mills as a cleanup hole, but how about making him our everyday catcher? How about that?
Let's start with that.
Let's start with that, and that would be a start.
Yeah, because you could put him. You could say he's going to be, you know, a cleanup hitter, but if he's only playing twice a week, what good fucking is it?
I do agree with an earlier point. Why don't we have Verdugo leading off? I mean, he's led off his entire career. He's better there, right? He's not a cleanup hitter. He has no power. Right? He gave you 3 hits in the middle of the order yesterday, and it made 0 difference. Right? Maybe it would make more difference having him at the top of the order, then Soto, then Judge. Who do we have at cleanup? Fuck knows. I'd play Ben Rice at cleanup. I think Rice should be cleaning up for now.
No, and as far as Cabrera, the Yankees broke him because he was playing very well at the beginning of the year when he was the everyday third baseman. He was putting together the very, you know, competitive at bats when they were runners in scoring position. And as soon as LeMahieu came back, they threw the ice water on him, and, you know, had everybody, all the fans just like, oh, see, this is why he's not an everyday player. When he's only playing once or twice a week. You can't find a rhythm like that. And you're playing him over LeMahieu. You're playing LeMahieu over him. It's just bullshit. Just leave LeMahieu on the bench.
Acevedo was right. Verdugo,
No,
280.
I know, and we've been making that argument a few times.
Yeah, we have. And the thing is, the Yankees love to reinvent the wheel. That's what their favorite thing is to do. They love to get something, ignore what they've done in the past, and try and reinvent the wheel. That's what they're doing with Verdugo. They're like, oh, I see a cleanup hitter here. Why? I mean, it worked because it helped balance the lineup to allow Stanton to hit after him. That kind of worked, right? But now we don't have a Stanton. So you got to change. But we're still selling out the same shit. And the Stanton loss has completely floored this.
I think that's the Achilles heel with this club right now. Losing Stanton just took the set, just derailed everything. Because he was freaking killing it this year. Everybody's favorite enemy. He was actually the biggest contributor to what was going on in the win column.
Not only that, but everyone that's hurt on the depth chart behind him, Dominguez being hurt.
Yeah.
Caleb Durbin's a guy that could make an impact. He's hurt. So Spencer Jones is finally picking it up in Double-A, but it's still too early to mention his name in this category, although there's one part of me that's like, fuck it, give him a shot. But
Vivas looks great, though.
Vivas does look great. I would not mind if they called him up right now. But who do you put in the cleanup spot? I don't know. Ben Rice, maybe. And then what do you go, Torres 5? Because that looks better on paper. Verdugo, Judge, Soto, Rice, or Soto, Judge, Rice, Torres. That could work. But then again, who's hitting behind them? Wells. They'll probably put Trevino out there tonight. It wouldn't surprise me. So
that's what I'm saying, man.
It's still
you got a two-man lineup, what are you going to do?
Order. Yeah, so you're kind of in a bad spot. The Dominguez injury is what really is costing this team right now. Because if he was here, I don't think we'd be having this much of an issue with the offense. But at the same time, they did fight back a couple of times in this series, but it wasn't enough because the pitching kept them out of the game. So we can't keep picking on the offense without talking about how bad the starting pitching has been. Stroman, not very good. Rodon, outside of the start the other day, has been terrible. Luis Gil looks like a completely different pitcher, and I think he's very, very tired. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Garrett Cole's just coming back. He looked a lot better in his last start, but what is he? And Nestor Cortez, good luck. I don't know what he is. So there's your rotation. And yet, there really is no answer in the minors either. Because Poteet's hurt, Schmidt's hurt. Warren hasn't necessarily pitched well to put himself in the conversation. This is why, even as good as Luis Gil has looked, I wanted another starting pitcher. I wanted another one just in case. And they didn't do it, and it is what it is. Luis Gil, I think, is going to end up being very good, but I was expecting some sort of a wall for him because he was too good. He was almost too good that you expected this kind of a slump. I'm hoping he can break out of it, or maybe they move him to the bullpen the rest of the way through just to limit his innings. But the rotation's a problem right now. And the bullpen is bad. So guess what? It doesn't matter how bad your offense is, because if you're down 8-0, does it really fucking matter who's hitting fifth, who's hitting sixth? You're not coming back from 8-0. That's the kind of hole that we've been in several times over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to Carlos Rodon. Prior to yesterday's start, he had 4.42 ERA, and he gave up 28 hits and 22 runs in 13 innings prior to yesterday's start. So I don't want to hear about, he had a really good start yesterday, because 3 of those hits went out of the, 2 of them went out of the ballpark. 2 of the 3 hits they gave up went for yard. There's a problem here, man. So even in his good start, he's still giving up multiple home runs. And his ERA is now ballooned to 4.42. What is going on with Carlos Rodon?
I don't know where everything just started going wrong. I really don't. Because you can't even say, it's weird that it's coinciding with Schmidt and Poteet going down, Cole coming back. These are not the pitchers you expect to have issues making the adjustments with the rotation. And if you got pushed back a day, Rodon and Stroman should have the experience and the knowledge of how to make the adjustments on the fly. Luis Gil, he is coming back from an injury, and I was talking with a friend of mine, and he thinks that Luis Gil should just be moved into the closer role. Go sign a starter, just like what they did with Mariano. He's not a starter. Doesn't have the length to do it, and just put him in the closer role and let him just empty the tank for an inning. Because he can't pitch more than 40 pitches. And I'm like, what? Now, I'm not so quick to do that, but how many more outings is it going to be before we do have to evaluate him long-term as a starter?
I think that's desperately unfair.
Yeah, let's be fair to the kid. He missed 2 years. 2021, he looked really good. Despite having a lot of command issues, he still pitched really well. I think he had 4 spot starts for an injured player. I forgot who was hurt, but he was great. And then he got hurt, and he missed 2 seasons. And he looked like arguably the best pitcher in baseball for the first 2 months. Let's not forget the way we were hyping this kid up for 2 weeks. There was not a single Yankee fan out there that would have said anything otherwise. He's going to start the All-Star game. Yeah. Oh, he's going to be the Cy Young. This kid is filthy. We've got our ace when Garrett Cole eventually starts to decline a little bit. We've got the future in tow. We cannot forget about this stuff. This happens to pitchers when they haven't thrown that many innings in 2 years. You should have, if you've watched enough baseball, you expected this. Now, did I think it would look this bad? No. But again, he's 25. He's never thrown this many innings. But you've already seen that he can be a very good starter. They said the same thing about Severino in 2016, guys.
I remember.
You remember how bad he was?
Yep.
They put him in the bullpen. He's the next Rivera. Not everyone's going to be the next Rivera. There is never going to be another Mariano Rivera because he was the greatest fucking closer of all time. You're never going to get that again. Stop trying to compare every single Yankee prospect to somebody of the past. It's not fair. There's never going to be another Jeter. Never going to be another Pettit, Posada, Rivera, Bernie. The list goes on and on. What's going to happen next? When Spencer Jones get called up, he's going to be the next Aaron Judge, right? That's how good Judge has been. He's supposed to be the next Aaron Judge from the left side. Stop doing that to players because you're already setting them up for failure before they're taking an at-bat. Luis Gil is good. He's going to be good. But because he has a few bad starts in a row, now he has to go to the bullpen? No. This happens to a pitcher that's just been hurt for 2 years. Give him a freaking shot before you already give up on him. Maybe this year you put him in the bullpen because you have to limit his innings. Whether the Yankees want to admit it or not, you have to. But next year, he 1,000% needs to be in the conversation for a starting role. 1,000%. Now, if he throws a complete dud in the spring, reassess it. You still have 5 starters under contract next year, even with him, or 6. So you don't have to rush anything. But 3-4 bad starts in a row, all of a sudden now you want to give up on him after looking like the best pitcher in baseball? No, you know he's got the stuff to be really good. This happens for young pitchers. This happens for guys coming off of injury. It's baseball.
No,
have we not watched the sport? I'm not saying you, Tats. I'm saying people that are mentioning this. Have we not watched this sport before? How long have we been watching the sport? The 3 of us collectively combined since the sport was brought into existence. Because Tats was there for it. We've seen enough baseball. We know how this works. It's nothing new.
That's why stop trying. I think fans, when you get into these stages of the season, because like we've been saying, the last 3-4 years, this has been rinse and repeat with the summer months. Stop trying to figure out a way to reinvent the dynasty. It's not going to happen. Those players are not coming through the door. And I understand like when my friend was trying to go, not specifically to Mariano, but that the flame throwing starter that pitcher that is better off long term not being the starter, because they did try Mariano as a starter in the beginning, and it didn't work.
For those with a short-term memory, this is only covering his last 10 starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his 10 starts ago, 12th of May, against the Rays, 6 innings, 0 runs allowed. The White Sox, the next start, 6 innings, 14 strikeouts, 1 run allowed. Right? 23rd of May, 6 in the 3rd innings. He went in the 7th inning, no runs allowed, 8 strikeouts. 30th of May, 8 innings, just 1 run allowed, 9 strikeouts. Right? We're now into June. This is all phenomenal stuff. We're now into June. 6 innings, no runs allowed, 6 strikeouts. We now go to the Dodgers, right? Now we're in midway through June. A quality start. Almost 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 Ks. You take that against that Dodger lineup? Absolutely. Yep. 14th of June, which was only 4 starts ago. 5 innings against the Red Sox, 1 run allowed, 6 strikeouts, right? Gave up a little bit too many walks, but again, pitched very, very well. It's only been the last 3 starts. So you're going to give up on a guy that for, 7 of those 10 starts, he was pitching you quality starts. And not just quality, incredible starts. So let's cool the gases here and call him a closer. I mean, you don't pigeonhole him as a closer if he's giving you 8 innings, 9 strikeouts, 6 innings, 14 strikeouts. That's insane. You don't do that.
Yep.
That's starter material. You start to flag these things if by May he was showing you can't go any more than 40, 50 pitches. He can't give you more than 40, 50 pitches now because he's gassed. So let him rest.
That's why we always said the option was skip, let him sit for a couple of starts.
That's what I've been saying. He needs to skip a start and he needs to rest. He needs to rest for a couple of starts. But to say that he's a closer now, put him in the setup role, that's an embarrassment. Just look at what I just read out. Listen to what I read out. 7 out of those 10, 70% of those starts of his last 10 starts, he's been excellent. You don't give up on that.
No, you don't.
He's just come off surgery. He's tired. It happens. It was going to happen. Everyone said it was going to happen. So if anyone's surprised, that's on you because that was always going to happen. So let him rest and he'll be fine.
Yep. But as we are getting into the hour mark, we still have not gotten to the awards. So why don't we just wrap up the show? We'll go through the awards and get into the weekend.
And this award section is sponsored by Just for Puppy Pads. So when Gleyber Torres pisses on the floor, he doesn't leave a mark. So it's always good. And the official sponsor of the New York Yankees is Charmin Ultra Soft, official toilet paper of the New York Yankees. So let's go and get the MVP started here. I will start. There is no fucking MVP. He just got swept against the Cincinnati Reds. The MVP is anybody that sat and watched that shit over 3 innings and sat and spent the 4th of July watching that crap. So anybody who sat through it, like me, anyone like me gets the MVP for sitting through that because that's loyalty, man. There was 50,000 people there in the stands yesterday. They could have spent it with their families, but they spent it watching the Yankees as they should, and the Yankees didn't pay them back. So they get the fans get the MVP because that is a tough sell to have to watch that shit and come back with no wins out of that. So the MVP goes to the Yankee fans. That's right. I'm standing up for our fans because Boone won't. Low-key MVP. This is where we can get into some more stuff here. Low-key MVP, I'm more than happy to give to Ben Rice Baby. And then I'm going to now start with the panel. Rob and Uncle Tats, who's your MVP and Loki MVPs?
Well, I'll say I have my MVP. I actually gave it to De La Cruz. I think he had, you know what? I know it's a Yankee channel, but that kid killed us. he embraced every moment that he was at Yankee Stadium for the first time. The first baseball game he ever went to live was at Yankee Stadium. He's a huge Yankee fan. He rose to the occasion, killed us with the bat, the glove, and his legs. He came to play. De La Cruz was the MVP.
Completely agree.
And my low key, I gave it to Rice. First home
Yeah.
run. You know, he made every at bat worth it.
Rob.
Yeah, I can't pick an MVP because they didn't play well enough, but Ben Rice should get consideration for, I guess, the low key. He had a great series. To the 2 games he played, he came up with 2 huge hits. The double should have been a clutch moment that maybe turned things around, but unfortunately it didn't. But yeah, you really can't pick an MVP, but I'm going to give Rice some credit for that low key.
I completely agree. Let's ask the fans. CBB says MVP is Judge. Low-key is Rice. Li says Ben Rice is the low-key MVP. No one is the MVP. That's fair. Raziel says MVP Rice. If you want to give one guy an award, that's fair too. Sneal says MVP Judge. Low-key Rice. Low-key Rice is according to NFE. So it's basically kind of a tie between the MVP is to no one and Aaron Judge, and the low-key being Rice from what I'm seeing. So the next vote wins as to who thinks should be the MVP. Should it be no one or should it be Aaron Judge? You guys can put it in the comments, but definitely the low key is Rice. He was fabulous. Let's go to the Clutch Award. The Clutch Award. That's going to be difficult because there wasn't too many clutch moments. So I'm going to have to pass the panel first before I can think about this one because it's really difficult. Let's ask Rob.
There wasn't a clutch moment. There really wasn't because they didn't win anything.
Yeah.
So can you pick a clutch moment out? Because nothing happened that made you go, oh, this is it. This is the turnaround. Maybe Rice's double. But again, didn't do anything. So the clutch moment for me was having to work during the game yesterday. I have to fucking watch it.
Right, so the Clutch Award goes to Rob's job. All right, let's ask Uncle Tats.
Yeah, right. The clutch moment, the holiday, for everybody being too busy to sit and watch. No, I gave my clutch moment. I gave it to Rice. I doubled up. You know, it was Yankee Stadium, first home run. It was a no doubter. And like I said, he was really the only one that was really putting consistent at bats through the whole series.
Yeah. Let's see here. Tats, I thought you were going to give the Clutch Award to the Long Island Sound because that's been saving you from having to watch the Yankees for a while. I'm going to give the Clutch Award to Austin Wells. Now, did he do anything particularly clutch? Oh, yeah, he hit that big home run, and it was important to just remind the Yankees that there's actually a good catcher there that you've completely forgotten about for the last 2-3 weeks while Trevino was embarrassing himself. So I'm going to give the Clutch Award to Wells. Hit a home run, had some good at-bats, kind of reminded the Yankees that, you know what, maybe you should play him. Just saying. I'm not saying he's a world beater. He's not Jorge Posada or anything, but he's better than Trevino. So that's my Clutch Award for not necessarily anything clutch, but it was kind of important, him reminding the Yankees what he's got. So that was kind of good. So we'll give him that. Let's go to the Pitching Awards. Good luck.
Nobody.
Uncle Tats, nobody.
No.
That's fair. Rob.
I want to try to give somebody some recognition because even in that 3-2 game, there was some decent pitching that went down. Rodon wasn't terrible, but I'm giving it to Luke Weaver because he looked really good in the 5-4 game. He threw 2 innings; they were clean. I want to give somebody in this bullpen. I think there's that Weaver. He did look really good. Overall, he's been great this season. So I want to give him a little bit of credit. Otherwise, I pick nobody.
I'm actually going to give a joint award to Weaver and Tompkin because the amount of pressure that's on those two dudes and the bullpen is almost historic. I mean, these are two guys that were possible waiver wire candidates, and now they're our best bullpen arms, and that includes Clay Holmes. So the amount of pressure that's on them to keep games close is ridiculous. Ridiculous. They are not even being compensated fairly with the amount that they've contributed and the amount of pressure that's on them. Because anyone else in the pen, forget about it. So I think they do deserve an award just for the fact that they were just hanging in there, man. I mean, you basically need to pitch them every single day now because if we're behind, if you want a chance of a comeback, you need them in there, right? Because if you're putting anyone else in, Kirk Cousins' cousin, then it ain't gonna happen, right? So, Sunil, I agree with you. On a serious note, pitching award is Weaver. Yeah, I'm giving it to both Weaver and Tonkin. Those guys are saving the Yankees right now, saving them. Without them, the Yankee team isn't even making the wild card. So that's the pitching award, I think. But let's ask the fans. Stevie B says pitching Rodon for a quality start. I don't know. I mean, I thought you were overblowing what Rodon gave you. I mean, he gave up multiple home runs. I know he was better, but it's kind of slim pickings. As I said, he gave up 28 hits and 22 runs over the last 13 innings. But there's not a lot of anyone else giving us too many awards because let's be fair, there's not too many awards to give out right now. We just got swept. So we will then.
More fun when they were winning.
Let's get to Aaron Boone because I know that Mello in the chat wants to get into it. He's been repeating Fire Boone in the chat multiple times. So let's ask Rob and Tats, what do you give Aaron Boone out of 10?
0. He didn't win a game. And he benched Ben Rice after having a big hit.
Yep.
He continues to play Trevino too much. 0.
Tats.
Yeah, it's a 0 out of 10. You know, I'm not even going to make a joke with going into a negative number, but I mean, it should be 0 with an exclamation point because of the game 2 lineup. That was one of the most puzzling lineups that he's ever put out so far this season. So he gets a 0 with an exclamation point.
You can't have a negative 0. It's not possible, Dad.
But I put the exclamation point in there because you're right, Tats, with an exclamation point. It's almost impossible how badly he managed that series. Impossible how badly he managed that series. The fans are all in agreement. They're all at a flat 0, and I agree with everybody. It's across the board 0. We'll get into Boone in a minute. We'll get into the L. How long have you got? There's about 20 candidates. But let's ask Uncle Tats, who's your L for the series?
Where to start? I have the starting pitching and the offense. Just not existent.
So the team.
Yeah, well, the bullpen had some moments, like you were saying. You know, they were able to quiet it down a little bit. But when the first 2 games we only lost by 1 run, which means the bullpen did their job and kept them at bay to give the offense a shot. And the offense couldn't capitalize on the bullpen pitching well. So, yeah, it's got to be it's the starting pitching, the offense, it's non-existent.
Pitching and offense. All right. It's in. Let's ask Rob.
Everyone not named Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Ben Rice, I guess. Like the Yankees, you get swept by the Reds. I'm sorry. I know the Reds are a better team this year, but they came in still below 500. What were they, 40, 39? And I don't know. 6 games under 500. Yeah, they swept you. Kicked your ass. Take the L. And I've been saying that a little too often lately, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I know for Spencer here, I've been just catching up on his messages. His L was for Trent Grisham. Hot dogging it so well, he should have been a contestant in Coney Island hot dog eating contest.
And that officially is the fans' response. So good one there, man. Spence says spot on there. Grisham does deserve the L. Hot dogging it on the 4th of July. Completely agree with that. My L, there's a couple of candidates. Gleyber Torres was horrible again this series, and I feel particularly let down because I did a mid-season grades article, and I only gave him a D-. I could have given him an F, but I was running with that 7 for 17 start run that he was going with. And I thought, you know what? Maybe he's turning it around after the benching. No, this is Gleyber Torres we're talking about. Once again, he pissed all over the floor and pissed all over the Yankees. He was absolutely awful this series. He did nothing. And there was a lot of pressure on him because he was following up after Judge, and he did zilch. So he was awful again. Absolutely awful. And I'm sick of him. I cannot be more sick of someone. But let's be honest, Volpe was horrible again this series. Now, I know he got a couple of RBIs, but he's gotten so bad he got moved from the leadoff spot. And Aaron Boone moving Volpe out of the leadoff spot says everything, right? Because Aaron Boone went on Talking Yanks and said that he has got carte blanche. Volpe, there's nothing that's going to stop him from writing it out with Volpe, right? So, for him to be moved out of leadoff says everything about the way how badly Volpe has played. And he's put the Yankees in a really tough spot, Volpe. Love the guy. Love his defense. He's a great guy. But let's be honest, as a podcast, we've completely forgotten about what Volpe's been doing on offense for a while. He's been freaking terrible, right? And I've been focusing on Torres. I've been focusing my anger and vitriol at him. But let's be honest, it's a far bigger issue than Torres. So the L is actually going to go to Anthony Volpe because he needs to wake the hell up. He really does. Torres, I'm not going to give him the L because he is what he is. He sucks. We need to move on from him. We're not going to move on from him until the offseason, but we need to move on from him. But Volpe, he's our future. And for the last couple of series now, he's been asleep at the wheel. And he's letting down Soto and Aaron Judge. You have to call it as you call it. So he's getting the L. And we've got Spencer for Grisham. Stop the count on that. Completely agree. And again, I feel let down by Grisham because I've been campaigning to play Grisham, and he let me down yesterday. And I feel almost personally pissed off at that. Let's go with the Aaron Hicks Award for the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. Again, numerous candidates, but let's start with Rob.
See, this is where I had Trent Grisham because he made a little bit of a fit earlier in the year about not playing as much, and it didn't become a major issue. But now you're starting to see things like that. I know the team's playing poorly, but when you have a bad stretch after being as good as we were, we're still 19 games over 500. The sky is not fallen yet. The season's not over. The playoffs are not out of sight. You're still very much in the playoff race, and you're getting a chance to play every day, and you go and do that. And then to have the manager back it up, I could put Boone in the same category as a duo, the worst of the worst. Grisham and Boone just tag teaming us with absolute garbage. But yeah, it was just a bad look because when things are going bad and you see something like that, you're like, why this has always happened to this team? It happened last year. It happened the year. The Hicks thing when things were going bad for him and then he just gave up. We didn't like it then. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think that's a releasable offense right there. Like, you just give up. Like, I don't know if they're going to do it because they kind of can't afford to right now, but it's a bad look.
Completely agree. That is a terrible look. Tats.
Yeah, I had Grisham as well. I mean, you look at that play yesterday, that's the reason why it's called the Aaron Hicks Award.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of carrying the mantle on you. you don't give up on a play. I don't care if you're down 20 runs, you hustle for the ball. You know, and that's why I was like, I even tweeted out, I'm like, this team has no urgency at all. It's almost like they gave up on themselves. And that makes you the worst of the worst. You are a 2-time Gold Glove center fielder, and that's the effort you're putting in. I'm with Rob. I would have cut him.
No, I completely agree. Like a message needs to be sent. I wouldn't cut him because we don't have any other options, but I certainly would have benched him right on that spot. When he didn't even make that play, Aaron Boone needed to embarrass him. Get him off the field. That's what I would do. And if you're afraid to lose a locker room over a fourth outfielder, the problem is far bigger than
we think.
Than we think. Exactly. That's why he needed to make that move, and he didn't, and that's an embarrassment. At least show the fans that you know there are some standards here. Li, you're running into the senile thing where you're saying, please take a look at my previous comment. I see every single one of your comments. We all do. We love your comments. But you don't need to remind us to look at your comments. But on this occasion, you're spot on. My L is Michael Fishman for being an egomaniac dickhead and taking control away from Boone. You're right. I've never liked Michael Fishman. He's terrible. And Trent Grisham gets the L for his play in center field. That's more than fair, Li. So mine... It's a tough one, but I'm going to give the Aaron Hicks Award to another Aaron. Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone really deserves the Aaron Hicks Award because, let's face it, he allowed Grisham to do that. He allowed it. And when you allow it, you're basically telling everyone that it's completely okay to dog it on the field. So that's on the manager. That's on no one else but the manager. There's going to be lazy plays, but you need to hold them accountable. And I need to see it in public. It doesn't mean no good if he's doing it behind the scenes. And from what I'm seeing, it's not happening behind the scenes because it happens every day. So for me, Grisham is just part of the issue. Aaron Boone allowing it is the bigger issue. And then also the whole standoff thing. I don't really care. I don't really care. I think it's a little bit silly, but what I will say is if you're 5-14 and your team is in a terrible losing streak, you don't want to lose these little small things either. Maybe, just maybe, it might have been a boost to your locker room if you won that little standoff, that little silly standoff, right? Because look at the way the Reds celebrated at that standoff. They were locked in after that. They were jumping around. Yeah, we did it. We beat them. And then they went and beat the Yankees on the field. Maybe if Aaron Boone wasn't so soft, maybe just let that happen, play it out. Yankees win that little mental thing, and then our locker room's a little bit more jazzed up because our team played like shit on the 4th of July. So
what was the whole point of that standoff thing anyway?
I know it's a silly thing. I don't make a big deal out of it. I saw a lot of people on Twitter were raging at Boone for it. I'm not saying I'm raging about it, but I'm saying that if it's a little thing that might help spark your locker room, those kind of things do matter, especially as a manager. But Tats, to answer your question, I really don't know. Rob, what is the standoff thing?
I mean, who cares? It's the 4th of July. Let them have some fun.
Yeah.
And Aaron Boone apparently doesn't like fun. And despite his kind of relaxed attitude, you thought maybe that thing would have, like, hey, let's let these guys have a little fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's the one that said, all right, enough is enough. Let's get on with the game.
And then they didn't get on with the game.
No.
That's the thing. So I'm with Raziel here. All the little things matter, and that's the point. It is. It's not it's not necessarily what it was. It was just that if you take the L there, that might actually spark taking the L in the game itself. So I agree with Raziel there. He also another thing that Aaron Hicks, yeah, there you go. Aaron Hicks, the manager. Aaron Boone, the manager, did was that lineup. That lineup that we're talking about, where he had Jamai Jones in there, J.D. Davis cleaning up, and he benched Ben Rice. That's a horrible message. And then again, Trevino. And again, as Rob pointed out earlier, when you're facing a guy who's one of the hottest players in baseball, Ellie De La Cruz, who's on course for about 80 stolen bases for the season, more than that. He's won 42 stolen bases now. He's incredible base stealer. You've got that, and you're still playing Trevino 2 out of the 3 games. Are you out of your fucking mind? What is it? What is your malfunction? Why are you playing Trevino most of the series when Ellie De La Cruz is going to steal like bejesus on him? I mean, these are just common sense things. It doesn't even take a good manager to figure out, you know what? If we want to stop their running game, maybe we should play Wells more than Trevino, right? But he doesn't seem to do it. So, I mean, that made no sense. And then another thing, right? And I do feel let down by Grisham, but let's be honest, Grisham was actually having some quality at bats. And guess what? His OPS is a ton better against lefties than he is against righties, but Aaron Boone never plays him against lefties. Go figure it out. Go figure that out, right? So he only uses Grisham against righties, even though his OPS is massively worse against righties than it is against lefties, right? So not even his analytics work. His analytics are dumb. It's not difficult. Go on Baseball Reference, and it will tell you that in 2023, his OPS was like 790 against lefties, and it was in the low sixes against righties, right? Yeah, he's playing against righties, but doesn't play against lefties. Now, that's why I feel like down by Grisham, because I've been campaigning for him to get more at-bats, but at the end of the day, that's just weird management. Like, what's backing you up with that? And this idea that JD Davis is this monster against lefties, he can't hit, period. That's why the A's cut him. So there's a whole catalog of reasons. And then, yeah, I've recently saw Boone go after Stroman in an interview, which disappoints me because I don't think Stroman did anything wrong, and I stand by it. Considering the other problems that we've had, where Gleyber Torres hasn't bothered to run to first base, we've got Grisham that's hot dogging it out there in center field. You defend that, but you go after Stroman for trying to be like, come on, let's get this thing going here. If you start calling that out, but you let that other shit happen, that's why you get swept against the Reds. All these things matter. So the Aaron Hicks Award is Aaron Boone.
Yep, and that is going to conclude the awards. It's also going to conclude our show. We just want to thank everybody that spent the extra time with us. You guys are the MVPs every show. But with that being said, just if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. This has been the Pitchlight Chronicles, where fans become family. I'm Uncle Tats here with Rob, Donald. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to Alex Cora going against Boone. We all know how that's going to end up. But as I always like to say, wear those pitch outs with pride and play hard.